Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. We begin with developing news. Police say a number of people have been killed and multiple others injured after a driver drove into a crowd at a Filipino street festival in Vancouver tonight. And a warning, some of the images that you're about to see can be disturbing. This is the scene earlier tonight at the Lapu-Lapu Day block party near East 41st Avenue and Fraser Street. In the video, we can see dozens of people on the ground, emergency responders, including paramedics and police, running towards those people. Police say the driver is in custody and will provide more information as the investigation unfolds. Our Liam Britton is on scene right now. Liam, can you tell us what's happening there and what you're hearing from witnesses?
Yeah, Janella, obviously this is still a very developing situation, still a lot of questions, but it sure sounds like this has been a dire day in the city of Vancouver tonight. I'm here at Fraser and 41st, where you can see police vehicles are still here. Traffic restrictions are in place. Police are saying that these restrictions could last at least all night until tomorrow. We were able to catch up with one person who said they witnessed what happened. They were a vendor on 43rd Street, which, GP, if you just come with me, is down this street here. They saw a vehicle, likely, it sounds like a dark-colored vehicle, hit a number of people on 43rd Street and then speed on to Fraser here, and then they lost sight of it. Apologies, we're still getting a lot of information here as well. You can also see, we've seen a few dignitaries here as well. At least 2 city councillors were here, as well as the NDP candidate for MP for Vancouver Kingsway was here too. And we've also received or read a statement on X from Mayor Ken Sim, who says he's shocked and deeply saddened by the horrific incident at Lapu-Lapu Day. We will work to provide more information, but police have confirmed a number of fatalities and multiple injuries. Our thoughts are with those affected and with Vancouver's Filipino community during this incredibly difficult time. And Janella, we have been told that police are going to be giving us some sort of official update later tonight, and so we'll be here for that, Janella.
Absolutely horrific. Thank you so much, Liam. And we are now hearing reports that Vancouver General Hospital has called a code orange, which typically means mass casualty or disaster. We will, of course, keep you up to date with the latest on our website at cbc.ca/BC. With 2 days to go until the federal election, the main party leaders are making their final push for voter support across the country. BC was the focus for Pierre Poilievre, who was in Delta today. And as JP Tasker reports, there's a clear reason why the Conservative leader is making some of his final stops in battleground ridings.
I'm JP Tasker, traveling with the Conservatives. Leader Pierre Poilievre is spending some of the final hours of this campaign staging huge rallies in Western Canada. Today asking the voters in Delta, BC to turn the page on the Liberals in his closing message.
Mark Carney's plan is to do exactly what Trudeau did on steroids. More spending, more taxes, more soft on crime. We can't afford 4 more years of the Liberals. We need a change. I love you too. That's what we're fighting for.
Poilievre says he will reconvene Parliament shortly after this election to pass a middle-class tax cut and also a major crime omnibus bill that he says will keep more offenders in prison for longer.
The same policies, Liberal policies, always lead to the same result. And why would you think it would be any different if we tried it for a 4th time in a row? You know, the Liberals have caused this mess where this gentleman has to work 3 jobs to pay $5 grand a month in rent. We have a rule in baseball, and it should apply in politics. 3 strikes, and you're out. And that includes for Liberals.
There's a reason why they call this Battleground BC. With 43 seats, this province could decide who holds the reins of power after Monday's election. The Conservatives need a major breakthrough here if they have any hope of forming a government. But it's not just about the West. The Conservatives also have to pick up seats in vote-rich central Canada. Poilievre is headed on a whistle-stop tour through southern Ontario all the way to Ottawa, where he hopes to unseat Mark Carney and the Liberals. JP Tasker, CBC News, Tawasin, BC.
Meanwhile, Liberal leader Mark Carney spent the day in the campaign visiting key ridings in Toronto. Carney again asserting he has the plan and the experience to respond to Donald Trump's threats. Ashley Burke has the latest.
As part of his final sprint, the Liberal leader is targeting key ridings in the Greater Toronto Area that the Liberals want to take from the Conservatives or hold on to themselves. Ontario is critical to try and win a majority government, and Mark Carney's campaign is picking up the pace. He says he wants to go all out until Monday. Here at Seneca College, Carney tried to hammer home his message that this election is all about Donald Trump and who is best to take him on.
Is Pierre Poilievre the person you want sitting across the table from Donald Trump?
Carney has been taking aim at his main rival Pierre Poilievre throughout this campaign, but in the final week is focusing far more on Donald Trump, mentioning the U.S. president nearly a dozen times in his speech this morning and Poilievre only twice. When asked if he sees a scenario where the U.S. president would use military force to get what he wants from Canada, Carney said no, but said the economic threat is real.
The U.S. is trying to put economic pressure on us to gain major concessions and to the extreme of a level of integration of our countries that would impinge our sovereignty. We have to be clear-eyed about this.
Asked if he thinks Trump will stay on past his term, Carney said Trump has an ambitious agenda for the U.S., is just getting started and needs a long time to do it, but did say he believes Trump will respect the Constitution. Carney's campaign is expected to hit a number of provinces before the election, including going out west and even stopping in some places for a third time this campaign, as the Liberals aggressively play offense. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Vaughan.
Jagmeet Singh's campaign saw stops in Windsor, Ontario. The headline, though, wasn't a policy announcement, but Singh's revelation that one says an NDP leader, he was warned of a death threat. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is making his final push for votes here in southwestern Ontario. He's visiting auto workers at a rally in Windsor. Many of these people have been laid off because of Donald Trump's tariffs. The New Democrats chose to campaign in Ontario the last few days, where there are several tight races with the Liberals. Some polling suggests the NDP may be seeing a slight increase in support here for the first time in the election. Singh's team says they want to show he can be a leader in a crisis, which is why they convinced him to reveal for the first time now his own crisis, a threat to his life. The NDP leader says in December 2023, 4 RCMP officers showed up at his doorstep. They warned him about a real and credible threat to his safety. For weeks, he had heavy security with armed guards with him 24 hours a day, including at the hospital when his daughter was born. Speaking with reporters at a campaign stop earlier in London, Ontario, Singh says he was scared.
I felt this knot in my stomach. For the first number of days, I just stayed in the basement because they advised me to stay away from windows. It was a pretty serious thing. We had some real tough talks, and we were talking about whether we should continue. A part of the reason that I was in that position was because I was a prominent elected official.
Singh still doesn't know why he was a target. He says the RCMP gave him little information, but the implication was that the threat came from a foreign government. This all happened half a year after prominent Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar was gunned down in BC. The Canadian government later accused India of orchestrating a targeted killing. Singh has been asked in the past if he's ever been threatened, but he's always sidestepped those questions, saying he didn't want to make the issue of foreign interference about him. He says revealing his story just days before Election Day is not an attempt to garner votes, but that he was compelled to share his story after speaking with people on the campaign trail who have faced similar threats. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Windsor, Ontario.
The Vancouver School Board says online hackers may have accessed employees' personal information during a cybersecurity attack this week. The VSB says hackers may have accessed employee names, bank account details, pay amounts, and VSB identification numbers following a cyber attack this week. It says there's no evidence yet that sensitive data was accessed, but is warning employees, vendors, and tuition fee payers to stay alert. The school board says it took immediate steps to secure their online banking system, but is urging employees to monitor their accounts in the coming days and contact their banks. A man is dead after a crash involving 8 vehicles in Surrey this morning. It happened just before noon near Fraser Highway and 64th Avenue. They say one vehicle appears to have jumped the curb and struck 7 parked vehicles in what appears to be a shopping plaza. Police say no one was inside the parked vehicles, but the driver died at the scene. Investigators say it appears the crash may have been caused by a medical emergency. Longshore workers in Canada and the U.S. have launched a joint action campaign to advocate for better working conditions for foreign seafarers. As Saurabh Sandhu reports, workers say they stand in solidarity with their colleagues despite the political tension between their countries.
Members of the International Longshore Workers Union have gathered at Fraser Surrey docks to mark the start of the West Coast Week of Action in solidarity with international seafarers.
They're the most marginalized and isolated workers in the world.
Smith says international seafarers often deal with loneliness and work burnout, which leads to mental health issues.
Suicide rates are high.
We know that these seafarers are vital to the world economy. They're vital to our local and national economy. And they don't get treated with the respect and the dignity that they deserve many times.
As part of the Action Week, Smith says union members are visiting ships and speaking directly with crew members to raise awareness about the urgent issues impacting the maritime workforce.
We're doing an inspection of the ship, looking for issues, lack of provisions, and if somebody needs to go home, their contract is expired, or if they're struggling with mental health, or if they're owed wages, because sometimes seafarers are not paid their wages on time.
The campaign is a cross-border initiative between U.S. and Canadian longshore worker unions.
This is an act of internationalism, an act of cross-border solidarity with Canada. And we wanted to work with our sisters and brothers up here in Canada and build that bond and strengthen that bond.
Rousseau says the unions are also advocating for changes in immigration laws for seafarers in both the U.S. and Canada.
There's a lot of complications in the system where at times seafarers may think they'll be able to go ashore and they can't. If they hit the wrong ports, they may never see the land and they may never go ashore.
Rousseau says the joint action will move down the coast all the way to Longview, Washington and end in Seattle on May Day. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
With trade tensions growing between Canada and the United States, hundreds of people from both sides of the 49th parallel came together on Vancouver Island this weekend in a show of solidarity. It comes after a Nanaimo man's invite to Americans went viral. Liam Britton reports.
One heck of a family photo for people of two countries, often called siblings. But Canada and the United States are a family in crisis.
Canada was meant to be the 51st state.
Like many Canadians, the annexation rhetoric had Todd Maffin, a digital marketer and former CBC host, incensed. And so he called for a family reunion.
What if we picked a day in a month and a half or so where all of you come up here to Vancouver Island?
Hundreds said yes. And this weekend, they arrived. Like these friends from Washington, fed up with how their president has treated northern neighbors.
It's like watching a train wreck, when is this going to end? When does this stop?
This is their first ever visit to Canada, to a city they didn't even know existed.
So I've heard of Nanaimo bars before.
They wanted to support Canada economically, purchasing poutine, Canadian snacks, and Nanaimo bars. White Sails Brewing hosted a pub night with a focus on LGBTQ visitors, like this couple from North and South Carolina.
We just wanted the Canadians to know that the majority of us love Canada and we're not jerks, and please don't turn your backs on us.
Let's wait out the orange Cheeto.
Yeah.
Visitors like them were a strong contingent. At a welcome event thrown together by the city and local tourism sector, these Texas nurses felt Canada was a safer place to be than home.
I could actually hold her hand and not be afraid. And it's so accepted here, and it's a beautiful thing that you don't always see in America.
They're thinking of moving to BC, a province in dire need of healthcare workers. Others are considering Canada for different reasons.
I have friends who are terrified of being deported.
Like this teen thinking about leaving the U.S. for college.
It's just terrifying watching this all happen, especially being the next generation, the ones who are supposed to take over. Are we going to have anything to take over?
We have just been devastated and embarrassed, and it's just horrible.
Two others were on a literal apology tour for how Trump has treated Canada.
And we came here to say we're sorry and to help support the economy. And I love to spend money. Oh.
Something Maffin heard plenty of.
When I did that video that went viral, a lot of the people in the comments were saying, like, we want to do more than just posting on Facebook. So how can we help? And as you can see, they're here and doing that.
Maffin and Nanaimo's mayor believe hundreds came up from the U.S.
This is about discovery for many people, and they have discovered Nanaimo. That's been apparent for the last few years, and this will boost that even more and significantly.
The weekend's highlight was Maffin's family photo.
Best neighbors ever.
People's coming together in support of Canada.
It's just overwhelming.
Picture perfect. Liam Britton, CBC News, Nanaimo.
Residents in communities across BC are learning how to prepare their homes for the wildfire season, which, as Corey Bullock reports, officials say is off to an early start.
Spring has barely just begun, and the BC Wildfire Service is already reporting more than 20 wildfires burning across the province as of this weekend. That's why, according to this wildfire resiliency expert, it's time to prepare.
In the past 5-10 years, we've seen a significant increase in big fires on our landscape in BC. So I think we can anticipate that.
Ballin was one of dozens of experts at the second annual Ember Stomp on Friday in the small community of Jaffrey. He says the event is meant to raise awareness of Fire Smart guidelines.
Fire Smart for us is really all about community engagement and getting neighbors and working together, getting communities working together to make their communities more resilient.
Ballin says there are 250 neighborhoods in BC that are nationally recognized for Fire Smart. 53 of those are in the East Kootenay. He hopes this event will inspire even more people to get involved, and he says there are many simple things people can do to make their homes safer, from removing flammables from their properties to landscaping.
These are all perennials that I have here. They'd be what you'd put in that immediate zone right around your house. The main idea is you want to stay away from kind of conifer plants that have like a very flammable resin to them.
And on a larger scale, these ranchers are teaching youth how grazing can help reduce forest fuels that contribute to wildfires.
They also wanted to bring their steers and sheep so that people could see what they can do as far as Fire Smart is concerned, because they do graze. And they graze and pick up all the little things, which helps for Fire Smart.
Emergency Preparedness Week is May 4th to 10th, and events will be held across BC. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Jaffrey.
Still ahead, the world said farewell to Pope Francis today in a ceremony filled with tradition and recognition of his contribution to the Catholic Church. That's next. Stay with us. Pope Francis has been laid to rest. Mourners numbered in the hundreds of thousands, with St. Peter's Square the stage for his funeral. An estimated 250,000 people filled the square and the streets around it. Another 150,000 lined the procession route. Royalty and world leaders were there. The eulogy urged that his legacy of caring for migrants, the victims of war, and the environment can be carried forward. Consistent with his reputation for simplicity, he was buried at what the church calls his favorite basilica, the first pope in more than a century outside the Vatican. Here we have a live shot of downtown Vancouver tonight. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in this city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC returns as the exclusive media partner of the Doxa Documentary Film Festival, May 1st to 11th. Doxa presents an exceptional selection of films and events that cultivate curiosity and critical thought. Festival tickets at doxafestival.ca. And on May 15th, join CBC's Dan Burrett at the Surrey Board of Trade's Top 25 Under 25 Awards, celebrating initiatives of Surrey's youth. Tickets at businessinsurrey.com.
Returning to our top story, police say a number of people have been killed and multiple others injured after a driver drove into a crowd at a Filipino street festival in Vancouver tonight. And a warning, some of the images you're about to see can be disturbing. This is the scene earlier tonight at the Lapu Lapu Day block party near East 41st Avenue and Fraser Street. In the video, we can see dozens of people on the ground, emergency responders, including paramedics and police, running towards people. Police say the driver is in custody. We're now hearing reports that Vancouver General Hospital has called a code orange, which typically means mass casualty or disaster. We'll have more information as this unfolds on our live special on CBC Radio 1. That is your late news for this Saturday, April 26th. Thanks for being with us tonight. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app and on YouTube. To keep up to date with all the latest news, of course, you can head to our website. And before we go, please take care of each other and stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow.